I've got Trippier in my team. Of course you have, Josh.
Sheffield United are going to win the title next season.
Don't worry about the ad. Get this idiot on.
Oh dear.
Welcome back to Lose to Win, the podcast with me, Jack, and Josh. And we have a little straggler that we found kicking around outside. Goes by the name of Benjamin. Here he is. He was so good we couldn't get rid of him. He did a fantastic job covering me whilst I was playing golf in the sun and working away and whatever else. So I think Josh is in agreement. Ben did a cracking job, and he's going to be involved as regularly as we can get him now.
Yeah,
can't get rid of me now, boys.
Yeah, I mean, apparently I was being grilled quite heavily by at least some of the community, believe so, from last week.
Let's go and have a lie down afterwards, didn't you, mate?
Yeah.
Step into my office. Take a seat, Josh. Take the weight off. Quite literally, take the weight off.
It's all right. It's your turn tonight, Jack. It's your turn tonight, buddy. We'll have a little chat.
Here we go.
Well, thanks for having me, boys. It's good to hear you back, Jackie boy, as well. I hope you enjoyed the golf.
Very much, mate. It was lovely. A couple of rounds of golf and a day sat on the beach. Couldn't really say much.
Happy days.
Much better than that. It was awesome. It was really, really good. And weather was cracking. And yeah, my wife doesn't listen to this podcast, but I must admit, if she does listen to it or anybody knows her, thank you very much for letting me go. She did get chocolates. She did get flowers. And yes, she did let me go. It is a partnership, but inevitably I was going to go anyway, but it's cool.
Good. Bless her.
So, how's things? How is everybody? How's your week been, Ben? Let's start with you.
All right, actually. I've been very busy. But on the whole, very good. Had a nice weekend away last weekend with the family. We had some family over from Australia, and we went up to just outside London, stayed in a big house, and had family from Blackpool, Derby, Stoke, and Australia. And we all met together and had a lovely weekend. So with that in mind, obviously had a few drinkies, a bit to eat, etc., etc. So I've been back on the wagon since Monday, and hopefully tomorrow when we come to weigh-in, I should be down, which will be nice.
I've got a question. When did you last see the family from Australia, or any of the family actually? Was it a while ago?
We haven't. Some of the one of them we haven't seen for about 5 years.
Wow,
the Australian lot actually get over fairly regularly. They've got a lot of family, not just us, but they've got family in Wales as well. So, and they travel. They're quite happy to travel backwards and forwards. So they come over usually once a year. So we see them once a year, but not for very long.
The reason I ask is, did you get buckets of compliments for how much weight you've lost and how good you look?
Not buckets.
Bastards.
But no, some that my cousin, sort of great. She's in the same generation as my mother-in-law, so I guess she's my cousin-in-law. I guess, I don't know. Yeah, she was very complimentary. I haven't seen her for a long time, so she was like, "Yeah, you look great. You've obviously lost a lot of weight, and you look much better for it." So it's always nice. Like I was saying before about people you haven't seen for a long time, they're the ones that go, "Yeah, looking good." So but looking good, feeling good.
When I shed the pounds, I'm going to be calling up people that I've not seen for years, like, fancy
going
for a drink or something? What are you doing this weekend?
Did you guys take a before and after picture? Because I think about this quite a lot, and I see on the Facebook Man Be Fat page before and after pictures, and I know one that shocked me probably the biggest recently was one of Rich when he had his before and then and now pictures, but I didn't do it. I didn't take one, and I kind of regret it. I kind of wished I had, because I don't really have. I have to use a comparison from just a sort of a family photo or a photo that was around the sort of time I started.
I guess the closest I can say is I didn't take one from the start, but I did have one at my 5%. Obviously, because I get like a photo taken with Steve. Now that's not miles in for me. That was, to be fair, okay, that was about 5 kilos or something. So it's still a decent amount in.
That's a fair amount of weight, mate.
Yeah, not so much as that I felt like it looked really, especially considering how far I've got to go. There's going to be a very clear distinction if and when I hit that. I say when I hit that. So
when be positive, Josh.
I am confident.
On the whole photo thing, is an opportunity to get your therapy head on. I hate photos of myself. I really hate photos of myself, and I've got to a point now that I used to know somebody, or I still know them. I know they don't listen, and they wouldn't be able to work out who it is, but he's of a normal weight and size, but absolutely hates photos of himself to the point where he'll request that they're deleted or kind of got rid of. And I'm not to that extent. I'm kind of like, if I'm caught in something, I'm kind of like, oh God, I'd look awful. Do you know what I mean? I feel like that. And I think I probably should. I'm probably still at a stage now that a before and after photo of where I want to be to where I am now would be a significant improvement. But yeah, generally, like you mentioned, like photos that you're kind of caught in, or action photos. One of the worst ones, I think, the worst moment I felt after photos was this time last year, August last year, when my older brother got married, and they're kind of real, kind of natural action shots. Yeah, and I'm like, I've got like a white shirt and a light grey suit on, and as most fatties know, those sort of colours are not flattering at all. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, Jack, have a fucking word with yourself, will you? Like,
do you know what? You get those pictures you get from different angles you wouldn't normally see yourself at. So it's not like the straight on in the mirror, or even slightly the side on. You get pictures of you from like sort of just behind you, or you're leaning over or something, and you realise, and you look at them and go, oh my God, look at that gut hanging over the front of my trousers. All that kind of stuff. Yeah, I know what you're feeling. I know you're feeling.
Well, I had this, obviously, like I say, it was a white shirt, had a grey waistcoat on, and the jacket was off, and the waistcoat's like riding halfway up my back over my love handles.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, if I was a couple of stone lighter, that would be my profile picture, or I'd have that up on the wall. But
mate,
what I found is I've kind of got myself into a bit of a, what I call it, my wife does it as well. We call it kind of like a fuck it rut, where you go, fuck it, that's already happened.
Yeah.
Get something shit. And then what's happened is that spiraled. I've had like another one and then another one.
But you never really sit in those moments and think about, oh, this is going to make it worse, do you? You just go,
no.
Well, you always think of the last thing and go, well, I've already just done that, so I might as well do it again.
Yeah.
Rather
Sadly,
than the cumulative
taken...
effect of going, okay, if I have...
You've got it. And I've never taken drugs, but I kind of get that you have that moment of high and then loads of regret. And I think with food, you kind of have that moment of indulgence, and you're like, oh, that was really nice. And you sit there and go, oh, Christ, I can't move. Or, Christ, I've now eaten so much my stomach hurts. You know what I mean? That sort of thing. And that initial feeding of the face is kind of you're indulgent, and then you kind of regret straight after. So, yeah, I've definitely had I've had better weeks than this week on the scales, but I'm positive I know where I am with it.
It's the problem with it is it's like you say, it's the fuck it thing. You kind of do it once, and then you think, oh well, I've done it now, so it doesn't matter. Do it again.
Yeah.
And then you kind of do it again, and then before you know it, a week's gone past. And those are the things that you have to try and get out of. It's never too late. I think once you've done that, and you think the day comes next, you go, oh, I did that yesterday. Well, that's done my week. I might as well just sack it off now. It's to go, actually, no, I did it yesterday, but that's okay. I can get back on the wagon again today and crack back on. And they talk about that quite a lot, I think, in the Man Be Fat stuff. They talk about it's never too late. It's, just because you've had one day that's a bad day, don't let that ruin your week. Try and draw a line under it, and don't beat yourself up about it, because we all do it. Everybody does it. If you're having a bad day or whatever, and you you open the fridge, or sometimes when you're just hungry and you're just like, I just want to get something in my face, and you end up eating a couple of 3 slices of bread and butter or whatever, and you think, oh God, I shouldn't have done that. But it's just, the most important thing is to go, do you know what? I've done it. It's fine. I've owned it. I'll crack back on tomorrow and not let it drag on for the week. And that's the tough thing. I mean, obviously it's tough. We know it is. No one's saying it's easy. But yeah, things like that. I'm with you, mate. I'm totally with you. I know how it feels. So get back on the wagon, Jackie boy.
Yeah. Do you know what I've been thinking recently? And one thing I think it's taken me, there's kind of 2 bits to that. Old me, and I hold my hands up to it. Old me would kind of go, I fucked this week up. I'm not going to be able to make football tomorrow night. I can't make it. I'll find an excuse to not get on our scales. I'll play Tuesday and Thursday because Steve ain't there with his scales. You know what I mean? But come Friday, I'm kind of like, oh, the kind of regret and the guilt and the embarrassment. But what I think, like I said when we first started this podcast, Josh, I think selfishly I want to use this as a bit of kind of therapy and be able to speak openly and and honestly, with you guys, with the support of the community behind us, and I'm not just kind of going, oh, feel sorry for me, feel sorry for me because I've had a holiday in Spain and it's been amazing. Don't worry about that. It's more, I'm sure other people are in this circumstance, and I think the worst thing I can do now is not face it up tomorrow. The best thing for me to do is face it up tomorrow and get on those scales and go, I don't need to give Steve any excuses, because I reckon he's probably had every excuse under the sun for me. He knows that I went on holiday. I sent him my food diary in the week. I don't know if I told you both this. And it was just literally the can of beer with the beach behind. And his reply was, "You're an inspiration to all." And I was like, I just gave him kind of like the salute emoji back. And I think he knew, he kind of knew from that point. But and the other thing I was going to say as well is that I've got to get my head out of thinking that it's a diet. I need to change my lifestyle. It needs to change. It has to change. Every time I'm playing football with the lads, because I do my lads football training and things like that, every time I do that, kids nowadays are pretty brutal. And there's a little prick in my daughter's class that's gone, "Oh, your dad's fat." I'm thinking, there's lots that I can say back, bud. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't tell her to, but I'm thinking, yeah, steady on, son.
God love
people
them.
People in glass houses, but that side of thing, that, like, joking aside, and I'm quite jovial about it, but that fucking kills me inside. You know, I don't want to be that person, and if that's enough motivation, some little pikey prick at my daughter's school saying horrible things to her, making her feel bad, is enough motivation for me to do it, then that's what I need. Like, I need to wake up and smell the coffee.
Yeah, man. Well, people react differently to different things, but it's about you, and it's about you feeling comfortable within yourself. So you're right about it not being a diet. It has to be habitual changes, and it has to be things that you're comfortable with at the end of the day. If you're not, you won't succeed, and it won't continue. So it has to be changes that you make. I mean, you were on a roll, weren't you, for a while? You were consistently losing weight. Beginning of this season.
It started well, and it's tapered off. I'm still the lightest I've been for a long time, which is the positives that I take away from it.
Yeah, exactly.
And if I didn't have Man v Fat football, I probably would only have been playing football once a week now, and I probably would be considerably heavier than I am now, and in a worse spiral. So I am thankful for that, and also thankful again for the community that I've built in terms of you guys and friendships that I've built from it. But yeah, that's kind of my piece. I might have waffled on a little much there, but I think I wanted to be as honest as I can be with it, and there's a few things that I've cut out there about what I would say to kids that are saying that sort of thing to my daughter. But that's just my natural reaction to it. I think she coped with it really well, and like I say, that kills me that's being said to her. And if I can change that, then I will.
Bless you.
Wow. Bless you, mate. Yeah, absolutely amazing. If you don't mind, though, we'll move on to the leagues. General.
Your week, Josh. I want to see how you getting on. How you got on after our therapy session?
Yeah, no. So last week, so just a quick rundown. So last week, what was it? I said I hit an own goal, didn't I? The week before,
you did,
and it was terrible. What was it? 10, 11 weeks into the season, I was just like, no, can't be having this. I felt more than anything else. It's not that I let myself down, and that's not my motivation. I think if I was like that, I wouldn't be in the position I was in now, because I'll just push it to a side. You know, It's more letting others down. So when I was there, I'm just thinking of my team and going, man, an own goal was terrible. And also as a team captain as well, it's like, that's like, I felt even worse about it, because I'm like, you know, I'm not really setting any example, am I, for the team? It's just terrible. No. So, I just, so of course, then I bounced back this week with
the week.
I put on 1.5 the week before, which is what to own goal. And I lost 1.6 last week.
There you go.
Nice, so, well, mate.
Top man. Well done.
Back on it. Not sure how this week's going to go. We'll see.
I can account for your sterling steel and determination. You sat and watched me eat a cheeseburger last night at the AFC Bournemouth match. So fair play to you, mate.
Outrageous.
And the thing is, I'd ordered. I was so much in the zone of needing to stuff my face. I stood at the bar. I was like, "Oh shit, Josh, do you want anything?" He's like, "Nah, don't worry about me, mate." I was like, just ordered myself a drink
and a
burger.
I've got my stick of celery in my pocket.
I just didn't eat anything. I'd already eaten my fill, you know, before I went. Anyway, on to this week, shall we? That's all right,
mate.
But generally, talking about weight, so there was another solid week of weight loss all round. meaning that many of us got steadily less solid as the season goes by. We lost 12.9 kilos this week as a league, putting our season total to 172.5 kilos. It's a fantastic achievement, generally. But if we want to hit 200 kilos by the end of the season, I know, Ben, you were saying about how it drops off, and my hope that it won't, which is it's only 2 weeks away as well, the end of the season. We need to up our game as an overall thing. But moving on to your team then, Ben, the unstoppable Blues machine keeps rolling on, doesn't it?
I wasn't even there as well. The boys just did it again.
I'm sorry, but it's so boring at this stage.
Absolute postman delivering every week.
Sorry,
but
lads.
Unfortunately, it's incredibly inspiring at the same time. So I can't be mad.
Yeah, I'm really happy for you.
Yeah.
You beat it, Jack.
You beat the Greens 14-8, didn't you, in general?
Yep.
So I don't know how much of that was weight. I can't remember the pitch score, if I'm honest.
I think it was 3-0 on the pitch.
Yeah, so another stellar week.
Double figure weight loss. Every week, even though we lost once against Jack's Whites by 1 goal, every week we've hit double figures in every single game week.
Amazing. That's incredible. I'm not even sure if Steve's twigged that yet, because he hasn't mentioned it, has he? So
probably. Yeah, probably is.
Anyway, the Yellows beat us, the Blacks, 12-6, and the Whites and Reds drawing 9-9. That leaves your Blues as the only team with a 100% record in the Cup. But you aren't guaranteed a place in the final, though, from what I can tell.
No, we're
Defeat this coming week would see your opponents, Reds, leapfrog you in the standings.
They would be top,
yeah, but it would leave you vulnerable, therefore, to a swinging goal difference towards the winners of the Greens and Yellows game this week.
Yeah.
Basically, a Blues win and you're in, mate, and you'll face
or
either
draw,
the Greens
or
draw. Yeah. So unlikely.
Permutations out, Josh. Come on.
Yeah, all right.
And it would have to be, and it's going to have to be a very big goal swing. But it's not unheard of.
No.
Yeah. Well, you'll face basically the Greens or the Yellows in the final. Anyway,
yes.
Our team, the Blacks, are out of the running. Sad times, unfortunately.
So are the Whites.
You boys playing each other.
The Whites actually are. You Whites, I mean, you're clinging to a chance. So slim, it almost comes out the other side of maintenance. But you are clinging to.
They won one draw, 1-1 lost one. Whites, haven't they?
But basically, the Whites need to beat your Blues to win. Need to beat the Blues. Yellows and Greens need to draw.
No, we're playing Reds.
So, sorry. You need the Blues to win. I apologise. You need the Blues to win, Yellows and Greens to draw, and for yourselves to beat us by more than 7 goals.
Yeah. Oh, that's not unheard of.
I'll score them myself.
Yeah. Stranger things have happened anyway, but usually in Steve's dreams after he's eaten a late slice of cheese before bed.
It's good though. There's so many teams still involved because quite often there aren't at this moment in the season. There's literally like 2 teams and that's it. So it's good that there's any 2 of 5 teams can potentially get into the final. I think that's good.
It's important for the engagement of the league, isn't it?
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely, especially for the last couple. We got last man standing delivered some bonus goals this week. Dan paid the price for having a social life. Something we expressly told him he's not allowed to have in this community. But alas, what can you do? To go to a gig of all things. So,
outrageous! How dare you enjoy yourself?
How dare he?
This is Dan Lloyd, is it?
Yeah. Hope it was worth it, mate.
By the way, Ben, you should have seen him in goal last Tuesday night.
Was he
sorry to jump in, Josh. He was outstanding. Yeah, I've told him that I was going to tell you. He's got to go in the 6 next week.
He's going in goal then. He can go in goal for the final.
Sorry, Josh. No, it's all right. The other 6 survivors lost weight, with Ollie, Mark, and Dimmy all getting a second bonus goal for this week for completing another set of 4 weeks of perfect weight loss.
Well done.
So well
Dimmy
done, lads.
Dimmy is smashing it, isn't he?
I know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fair
incredible.
play to him. What a guy.
Very, very impressive. So 2 bonus goals each for them, and with the 3 remaining others, Gareth, Tom, and Jason all scoring 1 bonus goal for last man standing.
Nice.
We had more hat-tricks this week, so 6 of them, but fewer milestones than last week, with a solitary man, Jimmy, from the Super Blacks, who has featured a lot on the pod since he joined the league, actually. he hit his 10% despite only having arrived in July. So fantastic work, Jimmy.
Wowzers.
Great work.
And I must say it's been great getting to know him for this season. And he's a credit to the league, and I'm thrilled, for our team in general and himself. So he's been brilliant.
Work, mate. Well done.
Yeah. Tom Davey leads the team of the week with an incredible 3.1 kilos lost.
Yeah,
whilst his namesake Tom Marks is the only survivor from last week's lineup. So this week's as follows. So we got both Toms at the top with 3.1 and 2.3 respectively. We've then got Tim with 2.2, Jason with 1.8, Jimmy with 1.7, myself with 1.6, and Matt with 1.6.
Excellent.
So the cup dreams remain intact for most sides.
Yeah.
But I guess even if you're not in one of them, that doesn't mean you can coast to the end. And it certainly isn't what we, I guess, would preach to our fellow teammates in general.
No, and I think next week's the biggest one. Next week's the big. Whatever happens tomorrow night in the cup, whichever two teams make the final, that last week is really important. Don't take the easy choice and say I'm going to have a week off so I can get a new decent starting weight.
Yeah,
take ownership and try and lose weight for the following week.
Yeah,
indeed. Yeah, completely echo that. It's great.
Steve normally incentivizes that last week, doesn't he?
He does
I guess he might do something.
Yeah. It's good that our competitive drives can turn the league and cup into motivation. I agree with that, but they're not the real reason we're doing this, are we? So
no.
The slimmer, healthier you that you're trying to become is dependent on your choices day by day, as we were talking about, not on whether you might get to lift a shiny trophy.
Fill it with beer.
Yeah. All right. We should probably ask Steve for a trophy that can hold beer. Let's all make good choices this week and beyond. So
definitely.
Absolutely.
Well said, mate.
We've got this as a league. We can do it. 200 kilos is still in sight.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah, it would. I don't think it's ever been done at our league, I don't think. What did we hit last year?
I don't think so.
It's 160 or something at the end.
Honestly, not sure. Well, let's hope we don't go backwards so we could have a new season record then.
Yeah, hope so.
At least.
Hope so.
Great.
Yeah, very good. Should we move on to some weekend footballing narratives?
Yes.
Where we go? I think we're going to start with the North London derby because I think Jack's you were saying we've got a couple of people who gave us some audio, didn't they, this week?
Cool.
Absolutely, yeah. So what we did with the Man v Fat Bournemouth lads was kind of reach out and see who was interested in sharing some of their thoughts over the weekend's football. Obviously, we can't get everybody on every week, so the idea behind it is just a quick, short, sharp kind of voice note for us to play out so everybody can hear their thoughts, and we kind of react upon what they say and give our views on it. So, by pure coincidence, I knew that Liam is a big Arsenal fan. He's also partakes in a little WhatsApp group called the Bournemouth Gooners with me, and I know that Craig is a big old Spurs fan for his sins, and I'm sure he's always got something to say, especially if I ask him about it. He's always chirping about something. So what we'll do is we'll start with the best team in the world, Arsenal, and start with Liam's opinion. So we'll play that and we'll react to that and see what you guys think too.
Yeah, go on.
All right, lads, it's Liam. Loving the podcast every week. Thought I'd come on here and just give you a little bit of a lowdown on the last few Arsenal games. Probably because you're fed up of listening to Jack bang on about him all the time. So you listen to my voice instead. North London derby. A little bit disappointed with the result. But overall, the way that the game went, I think a draw was fair, as much as I hate to say it. A little bit of a shame we couldn't really sort of apply the pressure more, sort of get a little bit closer to City. But yeah, that was sort of a bit of a disappointment. And again, Brentford yesterday, again, relatively happy with the result. Would have liked a few more goals. Good to see some of the old boys, Nelson, Smith Rowe, but some of the old boys coming through and sort of playing again, getting some game time. So yeah, overall some good results. Positive, a little bit squeaky with the injuries that we've got potentially, but happy that we're still grinding out these results. Loving your work, lads. Speak to you soon.
So that's Liam's thoughts on the last couple of results for Arsenal. I agree with him on an awful lot there. I think Arsenal are relatively lucky in the North London derby. Well, I didn't watch it live, but I watched back the highlights. And I think we're kind of masters of our own downfall at the moment. We're not finishing chances. There's one that stands out to me, that when Jesus nicked the ball off Madison's toes on the edge of their box, and he just kind of a snapshot straight over the bar. And I'm thinking, your Haalands, even look at the form of players like Bellingham. Players like that just will bury it. And I just think if Saka had nicked that, I reckon Saka scores there. But little frustrations and things like that seem to be creeping in. Injuries are a problem and are a concern. But on the flip side, I was really impressed with what looked like a very strong Brentford team last night, going away to beat them at the Brentford Stadium. So, mixed bag over the week. A draw, I think I probably would have taken it at the beginning of the weekend for the North London derby. But we move on. One thing that did crap me up was Saka doing Madison's celebration, and then Madison having a little dig saying he was still doing it when I turned him for the goal. So fair play.
That was
to him,
class,
but,
though. That was class.
I love that. I love that between players. I love that kind of. That's real life, isn't it? That's kind of like they clearly are talking outside of football, away from the game, and they're good friends. I know they're good friends.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think they get that though from England camp as well.
Yeah,
and I think that's also. I know this is completely separate, but that's a good thing for England as well, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, definitely.
So
definitely, yeah.
I was going to say
one of those days that they don't sit at the same table for dinner and all of that sort of thing. That seems to happen.
Yeah. So basically, I heard a rumor that you're in the market for someone like Ivan Toney in January. I guess that's the kind of thing you need based on what you were saying. You think?
Yeah, I think so. Osman's obviously having a bit of trouble with Napoli at the moment, and I'd take him in a heartbeat as well. I think.
Yeah, right.
There's a few. It's a real rarity that you have a natural goal scorer. I love Jesus, and I think he's a great player, and I love his energy. But much like the whole Ramsdale Raya situation, if there's a possibility for an upgrade and it's justifiable that you can get somebody that's going to do a better job in that position, why wouldn't you want them in that position? If that makes sense.
Yeah,
I think Toney would be a great addition. I'd be a bit harsh on Jesus. I mean, don't forget he's been injured for quite a long time, and he's only still coming back from that. So, and he had a great season for you last season. So, I wouldn't be so quick to write him off.
No,
but I know what you're saying.
I think everyone just talks about someone being clinical, being a killer in front of goal, someone who's a finisher. And I think as much as Jesus and saying Nketiah offer a lot in the build-up, and they're kind of bright players and creative players, I don't think their finishing is of the level that Arsenal fans maybe expect, or Arsenal are expecting at the moment.
Yeah.
Well, they've always had a talismanic striker, haven't they? Arsenal.
They have, yeah. There's always been somebody, isn't there?
Percy, Henry.
Should we move on to Craig's opinion of the North London derby? And I'd normally batter a Spurs fan, but I actually know that Craig is a proper fan. He goes to a lot of the games, and he has done for a while. He goes with my brother-in-law occasionally as well. So credit where credit's due. He's not an armchair fan. He'll go and watch them, and I do value his opinion, and we often bounce kind of opinions off each other with these sorts of things. So let's see what Craig has to say.
Hi, it's Craig here, the resident Spurs fan. So, North London Derby Day, went into it with not much hope, I guess, as in result-wise, but did know that under Big Ange, Spurs would at least try and play football. I think that has to be the one resounding factor that comes out of this, is that Tottenham didn't lie down, didn't give up. They went down twice to two unlucky goals. I think the first one, own goal. Should Romero put his leg in there to try and clear it? Maybe not, because I think it was going wide. But we came back, sort of brilliant play by Maddison to spin Saka. I think we're still doing the darts throw celebration, and then set up Son with a clinical finish. Sonny as a centre forward, I think, is one which is going to be interesting. Then it's going to give away the penalty. Could Romero do anything with his hand? It was so close. His arm wasn't really unnaturally out, but I get why it was given. Seems harsh. Be one of those, if it's given against you, you'd be gutted. But I do think Tottenham then fought their way back again. 20 seconds later. Equalised with Son. It was there to be won by both teams, I think, in the last 20 minutes or so. Both had chances, and it looked like it was going to be set for Richarlison to come on and score the winner. Sadly, his shot was blocked and went wide. And I think, in the end, if I was offered a point beforehand, I would have obviously accepted it. Part of me is a little bit, maybe if we'd gone for it a little bit more at the end, we could have won. But overall, I think a point at Arsenal, when you're trying to build, you're playing a new way of football and just trying to, like I say, just trying to build and be something different to what we have been for the past 2-3 years. It's all positive, I think, and it all points towards positive, hopefully come for this season. Big game at the weekend against Liverpool, and again another barometer to see where we are. Anyway, cheers guys. Keep up the work on the pod. Love it. And yeah, you guys are brilliant. Cheers, chats. Bye.
So I'm having a little scroll. I did ask him to give me his opinion on how Spurs got on in the Champions League and the EFL Cup, but I can't find anything. Oh, that's because they're not in it.
I kind of felt like you were lining something up. I just
was it that obvious? But again, I think similar to what Liam has to say and what I've said, I think they would have taken a point at the beginning of it. And one thing that the North London derby doesn't do is it doesn't disappoint. It's always a good game. It's always a cracking game. Probably more for a neutral to watch, but I generally find it a really intense, good quality goal-scoring game.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame you couldn't see it really, Jack. I was going to say I heard it was. I have to admit I haven't seen any of it, but I heard it was another cracking advert for the Premier League, isn't it? Really? So
I was sat next to you in Brighton.
They always are. Yeah, exactly. Maybe we should talk about that in a second. But
absolutely, yeah. So I think Craig's pretty bang on with it. I think the penalty. Just bring on to the penalty. You say you've not seen it, Josh. So I'll give you an idea. It's Romero's stretching for a block and natural body position. He's kind of, when somebody's jousting, almost hold like one hand up, and as they leap.
Is it one of these that's like a couple of yards out at most, and it just hits?
It is, but it's
hard.
100%. It's hit the back of the net if it doesn't hit it. That's the difference with this one. I appreciate what he's saying now. So if it's given against you, you feel harsh. If it's given for you, kind of go, we've got away with one there.
Basically, I'm always like this. I'm like, okay, it's a penalty, but I don't like it. I don't think there should be penalties, but it is a penalty, and they all should be given in all games in the same circumstances. It's unfortunate, but that's just how it is. Yeah. Either that or none of them are given.
I just don't think I can give a fair and unbiased view on that one.
I just think the easiest way to do it is if they are all given, because then it is. Yeah, rather than the other way around.
Consistency is the key, isn't it?
Exactly.
That's the thing. As long as they're making the same decisions for all of the same things, that's fine. It's when they make one decision on one thing and then the next week something similar happens and they don't give it. That's when it gets annoying.
Yeah, definitely. So I think that rounds up the North London derby pretty well. I think that's some good insight from those two chaps. They were the two that I would expect to get a response from, and I did. So cheers, guys. I really appreciate, or we all really appreciate your input. Absolutely. And we'll continue to do it. If you're listening, even if you're not from Man v Fat Bournemouth, drop us a message on Instagram. If you follow us on there, it's Lose to Win the podcast, and let us know your thoughts about how your team done, even if you support Accrington Stanley. Go on, Ben, what's the next line?
Who were they?
Yes, thank you, Ben. I knew Ben would get it. He's old enough, not you, Josh.
Yeah, I definitely did get it. I was just too slow.
Listen, Accrington are one of the original teams of the original football league. Yeah, founders.
They are indeed. Yeah, so genuinely though, if anybody does want to have a chat or to tell us what they think, then please get in touch. We are still looking to bring in some of the guests. I'm lining a few up from other groups, and we've
trying to get rid of me.
Hopefully got super Ryan Puttick on soon as well, and he can kick Ben to the curb and have his opinion.
Yeah.
Should we move on to the Brighton Bournemouth game then?
Yeah, because we were there, weren't we, Jack?
What were your thoughts then, Josh? You go ahead.
Well, okay, as a game, I mean, I thought basically, I'll say from a Bournemouth perspective, because in the first half, I thought, generally speaking, the game plan was there. Obviously, Brighton made quite a bit of rotation. They're going to do that anyway, but they've still got a really good side. I think Bournemouth really held their own in the first half. I thought the game plan worked really well. I mean, we had people in the stands, didn't we, who were shouting, get into them, but we knew that, they were just letting Verbruggen just bring the ball out, and they were standing off, and it worked really well.
Just absolute dinosaurs, weren't they? Just not understanding modern football. Yeah,
exactly. But I think Bournemouth had a clear game plan. It worked really well for most of the first half, and then there was just a silly own goal mistake, just a bit of bad communication, whether it was from the keeper or Milos or whoever it was. But, and that's just a bit of a sucker punch as you go into the half, because it was just before half time. And then, of course, you've got the Mitoma goal seconds after the restart in the second half, and that just the combination of both, just for me, it opened Bournemouth up, meant they had to chase the game, and then it fell apart slightly, really, in terms of they just couldn't get quite near Brighton for the rest of it. So,
Yeah.
But there were encouraging signs from Bournemouth. I actually think they've played pretty decently for most of the season. You know, there have been patches where it looks pretty poor, but this goes back to a conversation we've been having before about how I think Bournemouth have actually played up to other teams. They've played quite well and they've kept them in check in places, and then it's just 15, 20 minutes where something goes wrong and they've kind of capitulated in their losses. So, yeah, it's a bit of a shame for a defeat, but I don't think any Bournemouth fan or any normal Bournemouth fan would expect us to go to Brighton in the form they've been and get a really good result out of it. I think most people would have thought a draw is possible, but and they take it immediately. So
there aren't many teams that get anything out of Brighton at the moment.
No,
yeah,
God, no.
Exactly. So
I don't think there was too many. I don't think there was too many grumbles from the Bournemouth fans. I think they gave a really good account of themselves for the vast majority of the game. The frustration came for me from when a kick-off, simple ball back, like you say, Matoma and Ansu Fati came on, and I think it was an Ansu Fati assist straight to a Matoma goal, like from the kick-off basically, but from a Bournemouth kick-off. Lewis Cook was played the ball back to him. He dilly-dallied on it, passed it to Billing. He got closed down, and then they literally like a knife through butter straight up and scored. Yeah. And fair play to him. And I think he was saying now there was a significant amount of changes. I think it was like 9 changes for Brighton. They played well, that they had a clear game plan, and Bournemouth actually kind of matched them with that game plan. They let forget the name of the goalkeeper. They just he basically almost walked to the halfway line Bruggen, 3 or 4 times by
he just dawdled it. He just nudged it a couple of centimetres in front of him and just walked up, didn't he? He just did it for I think at one
just
point
waited for that nibble, wasn't it? Waiting for somebody to dive in.
2 or 3 minutes,
It's not the most enjoyable thing to watch, but you can see their game plan, and Bournemouth didn't want to play to their game plan. Bournemouth wanted to play with how they wanted to beat them, and I must touch on last night. We went to watch the Stoke game last night in the EFL Cup against Bournemouth, obviously at Dean Court. And my God, was that a dull game of football for the best part of about 50 minutes, wasn't it? And then
so slow.
They brought on Solanke and Christie, and much like Matoma and Fati, they just changed the game instantly, with just a bit of quality and a bit of impetus towards a goal, not going backwards and sideways. And Iraola's known for his pressing, but they weren't doing a lot of pressing last night against, admittedly, I don't think a particularly great footballing Stoke defence. I think their Stoke defence have basically all been bred in the blueprint of Ryan Bastard Shawcross. I think they're waiting to give you a good kicking in the air, and we'll lump the ball forward. And we saw a lot. We saw them practicing that, and they're warming up in front of us, and they were just practicing hoofing the ball. And Bournemouth didn't press there, but they made so many changes. I don't think that team was cohesive at all. And like I say, when Solanke and Christie came on, it made such a difference. But Solanke ended off going off with a bit of a knock. I'm sure it was only kind of precautionary. Man. But
we need him now. We need him.
Yeah.
If that anything shows you need Dom, that is those 10, 15
he gets
minutes
a lot of hate though, Dom.
On.
He gets a lot of grief from Bournemouth fans.
Yeah,
unfairly,
I know.
I think
a lot of Bournemouth fans, and even I was saying this, getting someone to provide a bit of competition, I think is good. But, for him, especially again, it shows in that game. If we say got Pat Sandaka through the door, like there was suggested last minute, he would have played the full 90 there. I'm absolutely certain, and I don't think there would have been anywhere near the same problem. So,
I think Bournemouth was spoiled for some time. If you think they had Wilson for 7 years, and he was, as he's showing everybody else
getting
now,
back, mate,
I know Bournemouth saw it for a long time. He's just a natural goal scorer. Yeah, you're right. I'd have him back in a heartbeat. But yeah, we were spoiled having him because he's class.
Yeah. Anyway, so should we move on to a couple of others? So I wanted to touch on a few narratives. The media 180 on Newcastle was one thing, because Newcastle absolutely smashed Sheffield United, didn't they? That was insane. I mean, I don't think after it was like after 1-0. Okay, admittedly, I've only seen the highlights, but it was after 1-0 that Sheffield United basically they just let Newcastle do what they wanted, from what I can tell.
Crazy.
But the media was slagging off Eddie Howe and saying he's under pressure I think we talked about it on the pod a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden they've had a string of good results. You know, they ground one
He's
out
the
against
Messiah again, isn't he?
Brentford. Yeah, got a smashing against Sheffield United, and of course, then they beat Man City in the EFL Cup last night, I believe. So, yeah, complete turnaround for them. I just find it quite interesting. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, isn't it?
Fickle old game, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, you could be the kicking boy one week, and then the next week you're the hero, and that's the nature of the game. But the reality is, these guys know that they're not. You know, they're used to it. They're used to they don't pay a huge amount of attention to those sorts of media streams. They get on with their jobs and they do what they do, and that's why they're successful, and that's why the clubs want them, because they do just get their heads down and get on with it. So they're never in any doubt, and that's often the way in clubs. You know, the players, the coaching staff, the management, they all know what sort of journey they're on. They all know what they're doing, so they pay no mind to it. It's only the poor souls out and about who buy into it that have to deal with that kind of stuff. So fair play to him, I say. I watched a bit of the City game last night, and I thought Newcastle were outstanding. Second half, they came out and they were absolutely brilliant. So no complaints there, I don't think, from any City fans either. I think you'll find that they'll go fair play. To have 8 different goal scorers. 8 different goal scorers. Though.
Yeah, no.
In that 8-0, that's bonkers.
Yeah, that was insane. I just... we were listening to it in the car, weren't we, Jack, on the way back? So
yeah, we were trying to count up. We couldn't remember who one of the goal scorers was. We were trying to work out who had scored the other goal. And then Trippier, Josh is sat there like a smug bastard going, I've got Trippier in my team. Of course you have, Josh. And then another goal goes in. Oh, Trippier assist. I've got Trippier in my team. Do you want to walk the rest of the way, Josh? But fair play. They were brilliant. And I don't think that will be the last team that give Sheffield United a bit of a spanking this season.
There's always one in a season, isn't there? There's always one like ridiculous scoreline like that. Like Bournemouth got done, whatever it was, 9-0 by Liverpool. Sorry to throw that in there, but
that's all right. Saints took a beating a couple of years in a row, didn't they?
Yeah,
they've had a couple. They've had 2 a season for the last when they're in the Prem, weren't they? For 2 years in a row or something.
Yeah. They do pop up, which it's great for the fans.
Yeah.
Speaking of Sheffield United and I also combine this with Luton. Do you reckon that they could beat either one of them? Could beat Derby's points record in the Premier League when they get relegated? I say when.
How many was it? 11?
Yeah, is it 11? I think.
Yeah, I'm trying to have a little Google. I'm pretty sure it's 11. Like
11 or 9,
2 wins.
I'd be surprised. I think they'll start picking up wins. I think you've got to give them a bit of time. We were saying last week.
No, yeah, absolutely. It was more of a. Neither of them look particularly convincing, though, do they? I mean, okay, it's a bit of a knee jerk because Sheffield United have come off a ridiculous defeat to Newcastle, and Luton couldn't beat a 10-man Wolves team. 1-0 up,
So just reading up, they only won 1 of their 38 games in the league, and that was a 1-0 win at home to Newcastle, ironically. But it's 11 points in total, which is just. I can't imagine anybody is going to get lower than that.
I'd be really surprised.
Because they're going to play each other. One of them's going to beat each other, surely.
Yeah,
I'm just.
Got that chance.
I guess it's my way of saying. Again, they better be worried. I guess really. I think both of them are going to be pretty worried about it. I guess for Luton, it's less
Derby side was absolutely appalling, though, wasn't it? It was really bad. I don't think either of these sides are as bad as that.
I blame Robbie Savage.
No, and normally, I would actually say I think the competition between the top of the Championship and the bottom of the Premier League around it's actually got closer. But it was just a potential question. I mean, I wouldn't put it past one of them, So I think just because the Premier League's extremely difficult, so we'll see on that one. Just a thought.
Yeah.
So I do want to touch on Man United because thinking of another. Team that we're going to Burnley definitely seem to show signs that they are going to cause some teams issues. I mean, they had most of the possession at home against Man United, not unexpectedly. I guess that's the way they want to play. But I don't think Man United look convincing, grounding out a 1-0 win. But some spectacular volley from Bruno Fernandes, and that was all you needed.
I think the assist was better.
Yeah, Johnny Evans' assist.
Good old Johnny Evans.
It's brilliant. They're mocking him coming back, and he stepped up.
And he had a goal disallowed as well. It was offside, but they had a goal disallowed. Yeah, so
fair play to him. Can't be easy, can it?
Yeah, I mean, it just makes they've got none of their starting back four in that game. They're just
it's a bit nuts.
They had to Reguilon was there. He got injured at left back, so now they have no Shaw, no Malacia, no Reguilon. a left back. They have to play their new signing Amrabat at left back when he's CDM.
Whoops.
They got no right wingers until Anthony comes back, and I don't expect to see Jadon Sancho at all. So it's good that they're playing Pellistri and people like that. Exactly. I mean, they got Mabry.
It might galvanise you, mate. It might galvanise you. If you think about that season that Chelsea had that transfer embargo and Frank Adam, he had to play the kids, didn't he? That was like Mason Mount's breakthrough season and that sort of thing. And it might galvanise them. I'm sure they'll put some hands in some pockets to get some players in January, but for the meantime, it's you've got to deal with the hands you've been dealt, haven't you?
Yeah, that's fair enough. I don't mind it personally. I think it's more just we were saying this. So it was 12, so it's 13 first team players injured or just coming back from injury. Wow. So that's a nice one. One thing I did notice though and this is just maybe a contributing factor. Man United played 70 games last season. 70.
That's quite a lot.
Just for comparison, Arsenal played 49. So that's
because they were in the Europa League and they won the League Cup, didn't they?
Yeah, so they won the League Cup, final of the FA Cup, obviously Premier League. So also then they had their full starting 11 extensively used in the World Cup, most of them, which is a bit. And Ten Hag didn't seem to want to rotate. That's his problem, But one thing I did see, Bruno Fernandes, the only player in world football to play over 6,000 minutes last season.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
I think I told you about the stat of him never missing a game injured for any. In his professional career, I'm certain he's never missed a game through injury.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's amazing.
Well, that's just put the mockers on it, isn't it? He's going to get injured this weekend.
Hopefully.
Yeah, well, I hope not, man. We need him so bad.
Yeah. Transfer him out, boys. Anyone's got him in your team, get rid of him. He's done.
Yeah. No, I'm going to suggest the opposite.
Jack's tip of the day. Don't listen to Josh. It's not like he's won it every year since he was a child.
Yeah. Anyway, so Man City, they roll on as always, 2-0 win versus Forest. What did you think, Scott?
They won as usual.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Cheers, Scott.
Yeah, cheers, Scott, as always.
Another insightful input.
Yeah, we'll keep reusing that wherever possible. I suspect it'll be.
I did ask him for something, and he never got back to me. So I think he must presume that we're just going to use that until they do lose.
He's going to be asking for repeat fees soon.
Is that why you're back?
I'm not doing this for free, am I?
So with not much to say on that. Well, obviously what was their team like in the Carabao? Did they kind of rest quite a lot?
Fairly decent.
I guess Man City's always been fairly decent.
So Haaland didn't play at all.
Even when he needed a goal, he didn't come on, did he?
No. Foden came on.
I can tell you now if you like. I've got it in front of me. That's my super quick research.
Lewis.
Yeah, Ake.
Guardiola, I think, played.
Kovacic, Phillips, Gomez, Oscar Bob, Julian Alvarez, and Jack Grealish.
I think I saw a bit of some of the highlights, and I did find it quite funny. They were just Bob got on the ball. It's like, it's Bob.
Okay. And then Nunes, Doku, and Foden came on, leaving Walker, Diaz, Haaland, Scott Carson on the bench.
Love that.
But I don't think Pep's overly bothered, is he? The impression I got in interviews and stuff I've heard while driving today, I don't think you could give two rat shits about it, to be completely honest.
Yeah,
he's more concerned about whinging about his getting home.
Is that was it you saying this to me yesterday about how he was moaning about how he had to take a 2-hour coach instead of flying 47 minutes.
47-minute flight and 2-hour coach journey,
And then I know he's been whinging about injuries a lot, so which
welcome
to be
to
fair,
world,
Ten Hag hasn't been doing, and yet they're back.
Ten Hag has had his hands full, though, hasn't he? With his players' misdemeanors and everything else going on.
Yeah. So much going on. Every single press conference is about Jadon Sancho or something like that. Every time is a question, and he just dodges them. To be fair, he could be a politician.
I did hear Anthony's back in the country. I think he might be back training soon. So I'm sure he's still fighting that case and hoping that whatever happens goes in his favour.
Yeah. Liverpool, do you reckon they could challenge for the title? They're kind of quietly going about their business.
I'm pretty happy that my prediction at the beginning of the season is seeming to. I know very early doors, but they're playing exactly how I thought they would. It's Liverpool 2.0. I'm telling you, it's. I think they are going to be who compete with Man City. I'll stick to my earlier prediction: is that's who they will be fighting with the title for.
They're only going to get better, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they've got so many goals in that team, haven't they?
Yeah.
The front six or so that they've got that they can just rotate at will.
Gakpo's started to score a few, hasn't he?
Yeah, Nunes too.
Nunes is in, and Jota and Diaz and Salah, obviously.
You've still got Thiago Alcantara to come back as well. I think he's still carrying a knock, and he is, I've said before on the pod, he's an absolute Rolls Royce. He's probably one of my most favourite players to watch.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll get in that first 11 very often, though, now. I'm just trying to think. McAllister and Szoboszlai are basically there all the time.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think who the other is. Maybe it would be Thiago. But
quite possibly.
It would be.
Harvey Elliott, maybe. I think he seems to be playing quite a bit at the moment, doesn't he?
Or is it Endo? Whoever that.
Who, sorry?
Endo, that new.
Oh, yes,
signing,
yeah.
Potentially.
I heard on the radio today, can you believe this? Liverpool fans, I don't know the kind of pond scum that call up Talk Sport, but this particular fellow was claiming that Szoboszlai is better than Gerrard, and he was Scouse. He was definitely Scouse, and they were like, "Are you an Everton fan? Are you on a wind up?" But yeah, absolutely. But to even compare him, to even put him in the same bracket, is
but that's who they let through the calls, isn't it? When they do talk
you're right.
calls, they're just going to let through the most outrageous.
Crawl out from the swamp and go, "I'm going to call Talk Sport." And there
Sheffield United are going to win the title next season. It's just like
get him on.
Yeah, right. Quick. Don't worry about the ad. Get this idiot on.
Oh dear.
All good fun. All good fun.
So, Chelsea, I don't brush over it, but Chelsea, I mean, Pochettino, is he under, I mean, another narrative, is he under pressure? I mean, it seems ridiculous, isn't it?
Well, he is on the basis that it's Chelsea. I think that's the only thing. It's a bit like we were talking about last week, Josh, about there being pressure on the big clubs. At the end of the day, he knows full well that he's under pressure to get results, regardless of whether it's a project or not. But we all know that the only way that you're going to ever achieve anything is to have time and build your own team and build the way you want to play. And it's not just about the team either. It's the way the whole club runs. It's the philosophy behind how the whole thing runs as a machine. And you have to have time. If you don't have the time, it won't happen. But you know what owners are like. Modern owners want results instantly. But again, he knows that, doesn't he? So he knows he's under pressure to get results. He knows he's under pressure to win, and he knows if he doesn't get a win, he'll probably be gone by Christmas, which would be an absolute travesty for them. I think he should be given time.
Be ridiculous.
It's time versus investment, isn't it? Really, time versus money. Yeah, and I think, do you think he would still be there if Roman was still in charge?
Roman was a bit more. Yeah. He's always been a bit more supportive of his managers, isn't he? He's always believed that he's got the right man for the job at the right time. So yeah, he probably would. And we know that the American owners are much, much less patient. They want results. They want them now. And if it means booting someone out and changing it, then they do it. They're not afraid to do it.
This is what I find so strange, because you say the American owners want results now, and they almost seem less patient than Roman. But everything they're trying to do, i.e. buy a load of young players, get progressive managers in who like are kind of project builders. So like Pochettino suggests otherwise. So
you're right. It's a contradiction, isn't it? Because that needs time.
I don't get it. Yeah.
That has to have time.
Maybe
but then spending money like they want to win tomorrow is just
exactly.
Yeah,
it's
so
crazy.
It's just so
really what they should have done, because Pochettino openly said he didn't have really much of an input in the transfers that were being brought in. They were just turning up and being given to him, and he was going, "Okay, I've got to work with these guys." He didn't have an active input in who was being bought. He was just given the guys and said, "Right, off you go. We've spent all this money. Now make them play and go and win some stuff."
Yeah, he definitely needs time. I hope he gets it. I don't want Chelsea to ever be world beaters like they were at one point, or every other season like they used to do. But they've got the core of a good team. They've got some great players in amongst there. He just needs them all singing off the same hymn sheet and going in the right direction. And I think one thing that upsets me is I keep hearing, he was asked about it as well, either the owner or the co-owner are going into the change room after every game.
Yeah. Are they still doing that?
They're still doing that, yeah. They got a dressing down, because I know Frank complained about it, and that was the beginning of the end with Frank actually like publicly complaining about it. But it just seems such a backwards step in terms of what Poch is trying to achieve is completely undermined the moment they walk in. Yeah. Even if they don't listen to one syllable that this owner says, the whole being of somebody being there is you're not trusted by them. If you're the player, you're going, they don't trust you to be telling us what we need to be doing in here. They're coming down and having their say. Must be shit, but if it doesn't work out, I'm sure he's got a relatively healthy packet like Mr. Potter has, sat on the beach in Dubai, still probably sipping pina coladas, waiting for his next job.
Yeah, absolutely,
yeah. Other couple of games then. Palace Fulham was a 0-0. I'm just going to say ball draw without watching it, just because that's what I assume of 0-0s. And then Everton out of nowhere beating Brentford 3-1.
Fair play, yeah.
Yeah, don't really know where this came from, to be honest.
And they beat Villa last night away as well. I know it's cup, but fixtures like that, as we said about the Bournemouth game, it's important to get wins, isn't it?
Yeah.
Something might have clicked then, hopefully for them. Sure, Sean Dyche is hoping for that.
I'm sure he is.
Yeah, there was something you wanted to touch on there, wasn't there, Ben? You were talking about players out of contract. I think you mentioned about Andros Townsend's interview.
Yeah. So there was an interview on Monday. I didn't actually hear the whole thing, but there was an interview on TalkSport on Monday night, and it was Andros Townsend who gave a very raw, honest interview about how he thought he had a contract on the table at Burnley in the close season, and he was going to make a move, and it was all done and dusted, and all he had to do was sign on the dotted line, and literally at the last minute it was pulled away from him, and he ended up out of contract. And just listening to him on the way he was talking about it and how he felt about it gave quite an interesting insight to the fact that I think sometimes gets forgotten that these guys, that are at the peak of their footballing careers, it's the absolute pinnacle to play in the Premier League. Okay, behind playing for your country maybe, but playing in the Premier League, every footballer wants to play in the Premier League and wants to play for the best clubs. And it just was a snapshot of these guys are people. They're not commodities.
Yeah.
They're not a product. They are people, and they have feelings.
Yeah. I think people just assume you get paid a lot of money, you get to do what you love to do. It's a whole lavish part of the life, etc. And that just gives people the right to go, they're less than human, basically, because they've got all the luxury in the world. So we're allowed to say what we want because they've because the benefit for them is so much greater than the.
But the way he was talking about it, it's like his whole world basically fell apart. And that's the same as anybody. Anyone can relate to that. If you're successful in your career and you're doing really well, and then all of a sudden the rug's pulled under you and you lose everything, you've got nothing else to fall back on. That's it. That's that. And he's only is he in early 30s? I don't even think he's 30 yet. Maybe, probably is.
No, I think he's like 33 or something. But
and he's a great player. He's had a great career. He's played for England. He's a great player. And to be in that position and hear him talk about it and how crushed he was, very honest about it, I just think it was an interesting, sort of building on what we talked about before about what we feel these guys should be and the way they should be behaving because they're role models. It's the flip side of that is the pressure that they're under to constantly be at the top of their game. And if they're not and the rug gets pulled, that's the end of it. There's very few of them go on. Some of them go into coaching, some of them go into punditry. The rest of them, what do? There's hundreds of them. They literally fall off the conveyor belt at the end, and you never hear from them ever again. Gone.
Yeah. This goes back to a bit like we were saying about support for players when they make it as being very rich and famous. There doesn't seem to be obviously anything out there for when that stops.
No, I think the PFA. Well, I think they do have certain things in place, but. Who knows? I mean, we're not professional footballers. We don't know the ins and outs of exactly what happens. I do think that there is some kind of transition, and they try and help players come out.
Yeah.
But
you do tend to consistently hear, though, maybe not too much. Maybe it's just because it's in the limelight a lot, but of ex-players who run into issues afterwards, whether it be substances or money, gambling, things like this, where they just go bankrupt or whatever. But I think that's it's pretty telling, isn't it? Really, that
it's a replacement of that high, isn't it? That they're so used to having something that is so like puts their adrenaline right through the roof, so invigorating that you get your name chanted every week. You get out there, you're doing that. They chase that high. They chase what's the next thing, and because they've lived from such a young age. If you think about these kids that get picked up at 6, 7, and then sold the dream for the rest of their life, and then they lived their dream for the rest of their life, and then suddenly, like you say, carpets pulled out from underneath them. Financially, they're going to be absolutely fine. 99% of them, I would say, upwards of probably the championship upwards, will be absolutely fine financially for the rest of their lives, unless they're very, very silly. Will be absolutely fine, but the money doesn't buy you that life experience back.
And guys who want to play football and it's their passion and that's what they want to do, and they're living their dream, to lose that opportunity it must be absolutely heartbreaking. So it's no wonder that you hear the stories that you do of people falling off the wagon and doing whatever and going nuts. And I just thought it was a really interesting insight, and I think it'd be quite interesting to listen to it in full and get a different perspective on what these guys go through,
Just a question, Ben. What if you think about it and strip away what he's saying? Is he's basically saying that he still thinks he should be playing Premier League football?
No, I don't think it came from that. I think it came from he lost out. It was a contract at Burnley, and he lost out a new contract but he's out of contract at wherever he was. I can't remember
Everton,
where it was.
I think.
Was it?
Yeah.
And it was a new contract at Burnley, and it fell through. And he's, I think it affected him quite deeply emotionally. It was like his Premier League dream was over, and he couldn't see anything past that. And I think that he was sort of brutally honest about the effect it had on him mentally. He wasn't ready for it. He wasn't prepared for it. I've seen him. I don't know if there were other deals on the table. Don't get me wrong. I don't know if there were other offers on the table from other clubs with less money. I don't know. I'm sure there would.
I'm sure there is. Yeah.
But as far as he was concerned, the deal was done, and he was on his way, and it was literally signed on the dotted line, and it got pulled away at last minute. I think it was that sort of last minute rejection that really hit him, and then you kind of realise, obviously, that could happen to anyone at any time.
Brutal.
Yeah. I just think he's been doing punditry, hasn't he?
I've seen him been really good at it as well.
Yeah, he's been really good. I've actually liked him.
Yeah. So he'll probably go down that line. I would hope so.
Max Rushton does a daily football podcast with his dad, Andros Townsend's dad, and he's really, really good as well. You can see where he's picked up, speaks very well, really articulate, and really comes across well. And they used to take the piss because he would only ever really want to talk about how Andros had played. He clearly didn't, but that's why I remember it, because they always used to have a little bit of a wind up with him. Or here comes the Andros talk or whatever. But yeah, I think there clearly is a future in something like that for him. Yeah. I reckon he'd fit into a championship team, I'm sure.
Oh, God, we'd have him back. He played for us for a couple of seasons. He was brilliant. I'd gladly have him back all day long. Wouldn't want to come and play for us, of course, but I'd have him back.
I don't know.
I see that he's training at Spurs. He's back training with Spurs just to keep fit.
Well, that's good. So they still
seems
got
like
a
he
link.
does intend on playing. I think he's keeping his options open, which is good.
Good. Yeah, good for him. Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, if you're happy, we'll move on to our last little bit. Fantasy football.
Oh, good.
We do like come on then. Fantasy football.
Come on, Joshy, hit me up.
I do have a couple of thoughts and kind of news to break with you guys. So, because of the Carabao Cup, it means that Man City is a guaranteed blank game week for Man City and Brentford in game week 18. Now, I know that's a way off, but it's just a knowledge that because there's a blank game week, there's also going to be a double game week coming up. Now, I understand it's going to be around Christmas, so it'll be probably moved to... There's a couple of places it can fall, but the most likely is double game week 20. I think that's just after Christmas, so between there and New Year's, around then. So if that is the case, then Man City would have Sheffield United and Brentford in the same week, and Brentford would have Palace and Man City in the same week, which means almost certainly the first sign of a triple captain play for Haaland in that week, if it's confirmed. For me, is the thought. Also, it does make, if you're going to hold your wild card and you've still got it and you're willing to wait longer, it does make it more viable towards the back end of the window for this. So game week 19 or so. But I'm personally not going to look that far ahead. I'm almost certainly going to wild card in game week 9 or 10. So in the next 3 or 4 weeks.
I might have to wild card this week looking at my team. They're all injured.
Yeah, well, cover it here when it comes to the pod at the time. I'll have to, if you want some talk away from this, Ben, you'll have to hit me up. But because I haven't even thought about it for this week onwards. But
No.
if you need it, you need it. That's what it's there for. So if you can always try and work out on transfers down the line and plan ahead. So there's always things to look out for. It was a good week for a lot of people, wasn't it? In the world, Son, Madison.
Not me.
Well, yeah, maybe not some people, but I meant generally players. There was quite a few high scores. Obviously, Trippier's your Botmans, Madison, Son. Who else am I thinking of? There's a few. Mitoma just randomly comes on, like for 40 minutes, 20 minutes.
Well, the Newcastle players all did really well, didn't they?
Kieran Trippier.
Yes. Well, I will say, if you listened to the pod last week, that Newcastle defenders were an absolute must.
They were. You're right.
They go ahead and they score bunches of points. That's how it works out. Yeah, but so Bruno Fernandes, Saka got 13. Bruno Fernandes got 10. Haaland obviously got something.
Yeah.
Okay, not quite the same, but always chugs along.
He's still got 6. Yeah, he just still.
There's a few in there. But looking ahead, so I've got a few people that I'm looking at potentially buying either this week or next. So obviously, if you haven't got Newcastle defenders, I'd consider it. So Trippier, Botman, etc. They're my main two I'd look at, depending on your money.
Botman's injured.
Yes, I heard that today that he's injured. Or he's carrying
Potentially, he's
carrying a knock. Yeah, maybe, but I'd wait until
one.
Maybe wait until the deadline if you can, or as close as possible. But if you've got the money, I recommend Trippier anyway. Then maybe some Aston Villa players, so Cash for defenders. Matty Cash is probably a good one. I'd even consider someone like Diogo Dalot from Man United because they've got no fit other kind of players, and their fixtures are still quite good. So then we've got Diaby and Watkins from Aston Villa to look at, and then obviously your Spurs, so your Sons and Maddison, and then because he's got a double game week this week, the only person I look at from Luton, Carlton Morris. But that's, I'm not really too mad on that one.
It's a double game week. I will tell you, I have already transferred him in.
Yeah, so they have Everton and Burnley, so it's a pretty good double game week. Not going to
Although
lie.
Everton
If Erling
have hit
Haaland
a bit of a
that,
purple patch. So
yeah,
it might
but
be different.
Luton haven't looked brilliant. That's the only thing I'd say.
But
So
he's
I wouldn't
scoring
go out
regular
of your
points
way.
for them though, and he's had good hauls so far. He got 9 points against Wolves. So
I mean, I have Kabore, the wing back, so I'm probably going to play him this week. Not expecting loads, but I'll play him because there's the thing about double game weeks is it's not just the chance of people say, oh, they might blank in both, and so they only get 4 points. Yeah, but there's a double chance of getting those points in the first place, and there's a double chance of then getting bonus points as well, because they can get bonus for both. So it all adds up really. So it's always worth it, I would say. I wouldn't go out of my way for this one with Luton to take hits and -4s, -8s to get them in. But if you have one, I'd play them. If you've got an easy move to Morris, is the only other one I consider. So that's it. Yeah, and that kind of comes to my sell. So basically everything Chelsea that people would have. Chilwell not playing basically. Is he?
He's injured.
He's injured as well.
Gusto
Gusto got straight red, so he's out for games. Jackson's got on his 5th yellow, so he's suspended. So basically all of those players. Sterling, I would keep him unless you have a spare transfer to get rid of him and an easy move to say, I don't know, Diaby.
They're playing Fulham away, aren't they? So
yeah, they've still got a couple of good games.
That's a derby, so
a couple of players, if you have, I would keep Onana in goal for Man United, Udogie from Spurs, Saliba from Arsenal. I'd keep him if you have him. He's not essential to get rid of. Estepinian, if you have a good bench, or if you've got some players who can rotate, because their fixtures aren't fantastic for the next 3. Rashford, Fernandes, Saka, if he's fit. I would keep all of those 3. Buemo, I would keep for another couple of weeks. Alvarez definitely keeping. Isak, if you have him, I would keep him. And the same with Wilson. But they are among a couple of players that I would avoid bringing in if you don't have them. Because while Newcastle fixtures are very good, I'm just not up for the rotation. I'm just not up for knowing who's going to play when.
Yeah, fair play.
In the Premier League. So I'm not too keen on that, is all I would say. If you don't have Mitoma, I would not bring him in. But again, rotation is my main thing with that, and their fixtures aren't great. And I noticed someone else who was being brought in a lot, Carl Walker. Don't know where that's come from. Again, I would kind of avoid that one where possible. So that's my list of all the players I can think of to go through. I'm sure there's a million other players to consider.
What would you do with your Tottenham and Liverpool players this week? Because they're playing each other.
If you have any of them, so Son, Maddison, and your Liverpool, keep them, because Liverpool's fixtures turn in a couple of weeks. Tottenham's, as soon as they get the other side of this Liverpool fixture, it's a clear run, like for games and games. And in fact, I am going to get one of Maddison and Son next week. That's almost a guarantee. In fact, I might even do it this week. So they are on my buy list, basically, regardless. Liverpool, I'm not mad on the rotation, although Darwin Núñez seems like he's going to get more minutes now. Salah, I would really want Salah, and I definitely keep him, obviously. I just think that's going to be when I wildcard in like 2 or 3 weeks' time.
Yeah.
I would look to get 1 or 2 of them. So the main people for me are Son, Maddison from Spurs, even with the Liverpool fixture. Although I would wait till next week if you can.
Yeah.
Diaby from Aston Villa, or Matty Cash from Aston Villa, and then absolutely almost essential I would consider Trippier or Botman or Shah or one of those ones from defensive players in Newcastle. And I would even consider getting both Trippier and Botman. So,
just on the Salah thing, again, obviously listening to a lot of the radio, I heard something interesting about his goal involvement. Now, I heard something about, I think it was a certain amount of games in a row, that Premier League games he's had even an assist or a goal in, but I know for sure that he passed at the weekend past 200 Premier League goal involvement, so obviously assist or scoring in his Premier League time. He keeps, and I'm as you well know, I love Saka to bits, and people keep putting him in the same sort of bracket. He's like that middle echelon between your Ronaldo and your Messi. I think Salah and players like Benzema sit in that bracket.
De Bruyne,
I think and De Bruyne. I think he's that good and that important to Liverpool.
Yeah,
I think for fantasy, he's like, I'm so keen to get him in once. So they're playing Spurs and Brighton, the next 2, but then they've got Everton, Forest, Luton, Brentford.
Yeah.
And we'll know a lot more about Liverpool after those 2 games, I think, won't we?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just like almost a guarantee I'm going to try and somehow fit him in the team with Haaland. But I'll do that on a wild card.
You can't sacrifice Haaland for him, though, can you? That's the problem. Getting them both in is quite difficult.
Yeah, but fortunately, people like Mbuemo and Diaby and people like that are not that expensive. So I would consider getting rid of, say, Rashford and get Diaby, save the money there, etc. I haven't really worked it out yet. But yeah, Salah hasn't blanked at all this season. No. Not once this season is he blanked.
Pops
so
up, doesn't he?
Yeah, 5, 5, 5, 8, 10, 10 this season in points.
Yeah,
so
you can't ignore that. Yeah, fair play.
Yeah.
Sound
well.
Okay, well that's a lovely, lovely evening, chaps. I really enjoyed that, and I think it was a real,
good to have you back,
good
mate.
one. Thank you. Thanks for having me back, and thanks for listening to my woes and me whinging on.
You'll be back at it, sunshine.
I definitely put back up the moment I had a chance to bat Spurs, so that's always a silver lining to most clouds. Just look across the other side of North London, and there's an old Arsenal Spurs bantery thing. It Can't Smile Without You. It's a song that they sing, and a lot of Arsenal fans take the piss out of it, because whenever we're feeling shit, whenever we're feeling down, just cast your eyes across North London and go, "Cool, it could be worse, couldn't it? It really could be worse."
Oh, they're getting there though, mate.
Oh, dear. Yeah, they are.
Yeah,
those tables are turning, dude.
Big Ange is on it, and he's worried me a little bit, but for the time being, it's all good fun. All bit of banter, love it.
Yeah.
Well,
All right,
thanks,
cheers,
lads.
chaps.
Cheers, boys. A pleasure as always.
Yeah.
Speak to you soon.
Speak to you later.
Take care.
Cheerio.
Bye bye.